Welcome to the video. So cutting to the chase, Dex has ridden the Polygon for 11 months and we flat out love this bike. When we first saw the Polygon available for $1,699 we were very intrigued. Back in October 2021 there weren't many reviews out there on the D24X to help guide our purchase, but based on the specs of the bike and the reputation of Polygon for honest, reliable, good value, we were happy to roll the dice. Many full suspension bikes in a 24-inch size were considerably more expensive, which is pretty off-putting when you figure your kiddo will only use the bike for 2 or 3 years. Polygon also offers a D24 version of the bike which has the same frame but lower spec components at a price of $1,299. We don't have any experience with this bike, but it seems like amazing value for a full suspension kids bike. At the time of creating this video in early autumn 2022, Polygon has the bikes on sale, with the D24X at $1,399 and the D24 at an amazing $849. Let's quickly touch on sizing of the bike. Dex is tall for his age, he's just turned 8 and is 4 feet 7 inches tall. He'll definitely get another year out of the bike, though the year after is questionable. The bike quality is great and it's still in great shape, so it should be a pretty easy sell when the time comes. Polygon's recommended rider heights are in the 127 to 150 centimeter range. In practice, age ranges will be child specific and will likely be either 7 to 10 years or 8 to 11 years depending on whether your kiddo is on the taller or shorter side. We previously did a video on sizing, so be sure to check that out if you need more information. The geometry of the bike is solidly modern with a 66-degree head tube angle and an effective seat tube angle of 75 degrees. This results in a bike that is equally happy ascending and descending. While Dex has spent a lot of time shredding the Polygon at bike parks, he's been just as comfortable riding the bike around our hilly neighbourhood. Okay, we'll spend some time going over what we like about the bikes, as well as some of the issues we have encountered. To add context, Dex has ridden the bike extensively. He has spent 4 weeks at Killington Bike Camp this summer, and we've been to some other bike parks during the year, as well as riding nearby trails and hitting drops and jumps in our front yard. So now let's go over the build highlights. The suspension and the frame quality are essentially an adult build, but the suspension is tuned for kids. It feels very solid and will very likely outlast the abuse that sub 100-pound kids can throw at it. The paintwork is held up very well and the internally routed cables and hoses keep it tidy. Helpfully, the frame features a tapered head tube and a 73mm threaded bottom bracket, which are easy to work with when maintenance and replacements are necessary. The frame also features ISCG mounting points, so you can install chain guides or bash guards if you need to. To hit a $1,700 price point with solid components, there is a bit of a cost in terms of weight. It comes in at £30, but the thoughtful gearing ratios helps negate that downside. Dex is able to keep the bike moving even on some solid gradients. The suspension is by X Fusion and is 120 front and rear. The components are claimed to be tuned for lighter riders, which seems consistent with our experience. We've been able to set them up and use the full travel with smooth, controlled progression. The fork is a 26-inch Velvet model, which will accommodate a larger front wheel than the 24 that comes stock. But we don't intend to go the 26-inch wheel route, as I figure that as Dex grows out of the bike, it won't really be the wheels that are the constraint. Though note, if you choose to size up to 26-inch wheels, the rear will only accommodate tyres up to a maximum of around 2.2 inches. The forks include adjustable rebound damping and a lockout lever. The Velvet fork features 32mm stanchions. X Fusion describes them as a cross-country model. We don't consider them particularly light, but they are plenty stiff for a Grom. The rear shock is an X Fusion O2 Pro, which omits any compression damping or lockout, but includes adjustable rebound damping. All things considered, the overall suspension specs combine to work very well for a child's weight and riding style. We have included our pressure settings for Dex's fork and shock. Dex weighs around 60 pounds. Brakes on the D24X are Tektro hydraulic disc brakes. They're holding up well and still have good bite and feel. The smaller 160mm rotors on the bike have plenty of power for a rider of Dex's weight and have stayed true during the time we've had the bike. Also, the brake levers are shorter than adult levers and Dex finds them easy to operate and control. The drivetrain is largely Shimano Diore with a 1x10 setup. The rear cassette is 11 to 46 tooth, which combined with a 32 tooth chainring works well in practice, as the 24-inch wheels will reduce the overall gearing compared to an adult bike. The cranks are 140mm, which fits the intended age group nicely. The Shimano derailleur features a clutch mechanism. It can be turned on to reduce excessive chain slap, or turned off to remove or reinstall the wheel. We have had no issues with the bike dropping the chain. Gears shifted perfectly out of the box and remains consistent and precise almost a year later. The bike has a Trans-X 100mm dropper, which has been great for the riding that Dex has been doing. Though out of the box, the dropper cable was fouled up in the lever and it would not operate properly. This is presumably a one-off, and Bikes Online replaced it without a quibble. We ultimately replaced it with a PNW loan lever in large part because it has a sweet red colour option. At around £60 and 4 feet 7, Dex has no problem fitting on the bike or operating the dropper. Though if your kiddo is significantly smaller, you may initially want to switch out the dropper for a traditional seat tube. Saddle bars and grips and stem are all decently spec'd for the price and well sized for the intended riders. These components and the wheel set are made by Entity, which appears to be a Polygon affiliated brand. The wheels and tyres are tubeless compatible, though come with tubes from the factory. When we converted to tubeless, we found that the rim tape wasn't well applied and that the seams in the rims were pretty rough. This let out air when we initially tried to convert to tubeless. We added some additional tape to properly seal the rims, and after that the tubeless setup was pretty straightforward. Another issue we found with the wheels were that 2 spoke nipples on the rear wheel failed. Dex is pretty light at 60 pounds, and you'd expect a 24-inch rim to cope with the forces better than a similarly constructed 29-inch rim, so it's pretty surprising that the nipples failed. Fixing wheels is above my pay grade, so I took it to our local bike shop and they had us back on the road for $40. Otherwise, the wheel set is solid and remains essentially true. The bike comes with V tyres Flow Snap 24x2.4 Enduro Core tubeless ready tyres. These have worked out well for bike park riding that Dex has been doing this year, and we've had 0 punctures. That said, they are pretty heavy. When these wear out, we'll replace them with the Maxxis DHF 24x2.4 EXO tubeless tyres. These should continue to work great for this type of riding, but save some weight. The Flow Snaps are 920 grams compared with the DHFs at 765 grams. This will save around ¾ pound for the 2 tyres. The bike has mounting points for a water bottle cage. We fitted a Blackburn cage and a 12-ounce Polar Bottle breakaway insulated bottle. These fit well and don't interfere with the shock or the movement of the rear suspension, though it can be a bit stiff for Dex to take the bottle out of the cage. So touching on upgrades that we've made, these have been primarily cosmetic, but we did lose the better part of £1 setting the bike up tubeless. We added some race face ride pedals in the red colourway. These have plastic moulded pins which are more shin friendly than pedals with metal pins. We upgraded the perfectly decent stock grips with PNW loan grips in red, and we also switched out the dropper lever with the PNW loan lever. These upgrades aren't strictly necessary, but they do help to personalise the bike. So wrapping it all up, we've had a great experience with the bike, and it's been a great platform that Dex can continue to grow his skills on. The relatively minor issues we've had with the bike in no way overshadows the enjoyment the bike has brought. The dropper lever issue is likely a one-off, and the issues with the wheel set is likely just a consequence of building the bike to a price. I guess the rim tape issue is pretty widespread, and for sure it could happen on any wheel set. Fortunately, it's an easy fix. As for the broken spoke nipples, it's difficult to say whether we were unlucky or whether this is more prevalent. With all that said, we feel the bike is a really good buy, and even more so at the end of season sale prices. Even though we haven't tested it, the base D24 appears to be incredible value at $850. If you have any experience with the bike, please let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for checking out the video. Please give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe if you found it useful.
Thank you for watching Dizi Does Downhill. Make sure to subscribe, put some comments down below, and like it.